All you need to understand the market in a nutshell. This is Deep Dive Finance by N3WS.
All right, so today we're diving into some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
We've got tech hype hitting some speed bumps, a food safety issue that has everyone checking their pantries, and some signals from Wall Street that have even the experts scratching their heads.
Yeah, it's never a dull moment, is it?
Definitely not. Let's jump right into it, starting with Tesla. Elon Musk and his Cybercab reveal it was supposed to be this massive moment for robotaxis, right? Everyone was expecting this transportation revolution, but it seems like investors weren't quite ready to hop in. What happened?
Well, Elon Musk is a showman, no doubt about that, but even the most diehard Tesla fans need more than a flashy presentation, right? What's really interesting here is that Tesla's stock actually went down after the event.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sources like Reuters, CNBC, even Barron's, they all picked up on that dip. It seems like investors are looking for the nitty-gritty details, the concrete plans, and this reveal, well, it felt a little vague on those.
So what specifically had investors worried? Was it the Cybertruck's design? Because I've heard some, shall you say, interesting opinions about that.
It's more about the lack of a roadmap, to be honest. Like, there's no clear timeline for when these robotaxis will actually be on the streets picking up passengers. And even if the self-driving technology is there, and that's a big if, think about the regulatory hoops they have to jump through. Getting approval to operate in cities, not just here, but globally, that's a massive undertaking. And then on top of all of that, there's very little information out there about the safety record of Tesla's self-driving tech.
So it's kind of like saying, we're building a spaceship, without explaining how you plan to get it off the ground, let alone to the moon.
Exactly. And this isn't even the first time Musk has made these big, bold promises that haven't quite materialized yet. Even Al Jazeera touched on that in their coverage. I think this whole situation really highlights something important today. We need to approach these splashy tech announcements with a healthy dose of skepticism. Until we see some real-world results, it's best not to get too swept up in the hype.
Good point. Under promise, over deliver, as they say. Okay, switching gears completely now. Let's talk about something a bit closer to home, literally. There's this massive meat recall happening right now, and this one's serious.
It is. Bruce Pack, they're a major food supplier, and they issued a recall for almost 10 million pounds of meat and poultry products. And we're not just talking about a few mislabeled packages here. This is a huge range of products sold at major retailers across the country. Walmart, H-E-B, Aldi, you name it.
10 million pounds. That's just an insane amount of food. What's the reason for such a massive recall?
So the issue is potential Listeria contamination, and that's not something to take lightly.
No, definitely not. Listeria, that's the bacteria that can cause some pretty severe food poisoning, right?
Exactly, and it's especially dangerous for young kids, older adults, pregnant women, and really anyone with a compromised immune system. The Statesman, My San Antonio, they were both urging people to check their fridges and freezers for any affected products.
Absolutely. This is a good reminder to check those expiration dates, too. It's definitely a good reminder to check those expiration dates, that's for sure. Okay, moving from potential hazards in our kitchens to a potential powerhouse in the financial world, Blackrock. Blackrock, the world's largest asset manager, just hit a record $11.5 trillion
Wow.
in assets under management.
Yeah.
That's more money than most countries even have, right?
It's an incredible number, isn't it? It's hard to even fathom. Just to give you a sense of the scale, we're talking about a figure larger than the entire GDP of China.
Wow.
Yeah. And both Reuters and Yahoo Finance, they ran pieces on this, and it really underscores the massive influence BlackRock has on the global economy.
So how did they get so big? Is it just a case of everyone deciding to trust BlackRock with their money? Or
it's a bit more complicated than that. A big chunk of their growth, it's tied to the recent market rally. You see, when investor confidence is up, like it is now, the market tends to go up. And when that happens, the assets managed by companies like BlackRock, well, those grow too. But BlackRock hasn't just been riding the wave. They've been making some strategic moves as well.
like what? What kind of moves?
So publications like the Financial Times, Bloomberg, they've been talking about BlackRock's investments in something called exchange-traded funds, or ETFs for short.
Okay.
And these ETFs, they've become incredibly popular with investors, and BlackRock has definitely capitalized on that trend.
ETFs. Got it. So BlackRock is riding high, but what about the overall health of the economy?
Yeah.
It seems like we keep hearing these, mixed messages, like, for example, JPMorgan Chase, a bank that's usually seen as a pillar of, stability. They recently reported a dip in net income. That doesn't sound like a great sign, does it?
You're right. JPMorgan's earnings weren't as impressive as some were expecting, and both ABC News and Yahoo Finance reported on that. But, and this is where it gets interesting, despite that little hiccup, JPMorgan's leadership, they actually expressed what they called cautious optimism about the possibility of a, quote, soft landing for the U.S. economy.
Soft landing. That sounds pleasant. What does that actually mean when we talk about economics?
Okay, imagine this. The Federal Reserve is trying to steer this massive ship that's the U.S. economy, and they've been raising interest rates aggressively to try to get inflation under control. So it's like tapping the brakes on a speeding car. But if you slam on the brakes too hard, what happens? You risk spinning out of control, right?
Right.
In economic terms, that spin out, that's a recession, a sudden, sharp economic downturn.
Okay.
A soft landing is all about finding that sweet spot, slowing down the economy just enough to tame inflation without causing a full-blown recession. It's a delicate balancing act.
I can imagine.
The Financial Times, they had a really insightful article about this recently, and they really broke down just how complex this challenge is, because achieving a soft landing, it's far from guaranteed.
Right.
A lot depends on factors that are pretty unpredictable, to be honest.
Fingers crossed.
Right.
It's just amazing to me how all these stories, from self-driving cars to food recalls to like trillions of dollars being managed, how it all kind of fits together, paints a picture of what's happening in the world.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected everything is. You know, you got tech innovation charging ahead, then you got potential risks hiding in our kitchens, and then this whole massive financial system, powerful and kind of shaky at the same time.
For sure. It makes you realize that staying informed, it's more important than ever, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's evaluating a company like Tesla or figuring out what to buy at the grocery store, or even just trying to wrap your head around the economy, knowledge is key.
Absolutely. And I think it goes beyond just, knowing the facts. It's about understanding what those facts mean for us, like how they might affect our everyday lives, our wallets, even our health. Like with that Bruce Peck recall, knowing about Listeria, that knowledge could be the difference between a trip to the doctor and enjoying your dinner,
Such a good point. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm left with, well, a bit of a head scratcher for our listeners. We've talked about BlackRock managing these huge sums of money and how technologies like self-driving cars, they could really change the world. What happens when you combine those ideas? How much influence are these financial giants going to have over technologies that could completely reshape how we live?
That's a great question. A lot to think about there.
It really is. And on that note, we'll leave you to do just that. This is The Deep Dive, signing off until next time. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and we'll see you back here soon for another Deep Dive.